Hi and welcome to Online Appliance Tech. If you have a Samsung front load washer with a SC or SE error code and the problem is the tub is not spinning and you have leftover water in the tub, more than likely this is your problem. So what I'm doing here, I'm placing this in diagnostic test mode. And as you'll see here, you see the SC error code. So I'm going to hit the delay in button. This locks the door and then I hit it once more to drain the water out. As you can see here, the water is still in the tub. If you still have water in the tub, and then if your pump sounds like this, that goes with your error code. And then you would need to replace the pump. Here in this video, I will show you how to do so. First thing first, make sure you unplug it. I didn't show you in the video, but I definitely unplugged it. And then you'll remove the two Phillips screws in the back. You have one on the left and one on the right. Once removed, you're going to press back on the top lid. As you can see, it just clicks off and then you'll remove it and put it somewhere safe. Now you're going to remove the dispenser. You'll pull it out and you press this little button here down and pull it the rest of the way out. Put it somewhere where water won't leak out everywhere. So this has to come back, and to remove this front panel, you have to remove this first. A lot of times you try to remove the panel before removing this, it's just impossible. So you have these 3 Phillips screws that you'll have to remove. There's 2 and there's 1 in the corner here. Organize your screws when you take apart this machine so you can know exactly where to put it back. You'll slide this backwards, pull it back, I would say. And now we can remove the top panel or front panel. So now we'll remove the 2 Phillips screws that holds this panel into place. There's one there and one on the far left. Sometimes there's 3 there, sometimes there's 1 in the middle too. Now being removed, you'll clip the front panel forward. If it's kind of a little difficult to remove, just take your time. Just don't pry it off because you can crack it, especially on the left hand side. So just be gentle and have patience. Now remove, you'll disconnect the harness. Once you disconnect the harness, you'll lift up on the display panel. And then as you can see here, it has little clips. If you have trouble getting the side off from the get-go, use something thin to go up and pry outwards. But something thinner than this is a little too thick. Kind of like a butter knife would work, just don't scratch your machine. And sometimes that can help you remove it. So then we'll disconnect this cover for the pump. And there's a little tube here that you have to drain the water out before you remove the filter itself. So before you remove this filter, as you'll see here in a moment, you want to make sure you get the water out. You can put a little flat pan underneath and just drain it in there, but I use this wet vac. This way I can just suck it out and not have to worry about it. So you sometimes have 2 or 3 Phillips screws underneath the bottom door here. Don't use a little toolkit like I'm using. Use like a brick or something more sturdy. But you have, on this one, there's actually only 2. One there and one usually in the middle, but not on this machine. And one on the right. So you gotta remove these 2 to remove the front door. So just when you remove it, if you use a drill or a hand tool, press up. Make sure you don't strip the screw, because if you strip it, you're going to have a hard time getting that out. Then you'll remove it and check, make sure there's no screw there, and then you'll put it back down on the floor. Move my light. So now you'll open the door and we're going to remove the front door clip, I guess you would call it, or spring. You take a flathead. Usually there's a spring actually that you can click in with your flathead and just pry it down. I couldn't find it on this one, but I'll show you here where it's at once I install it. but you'll just pry outwards and then pull the spring off, and then you'll press the inner gasket in the tub. Be careful because this is very sharp, so when you remove this, just take your time because you can easily cut your hand on the outer rim where the gasket goes, and you don't want to rip the gasket either. And up next, we're going to remove the 3 Phillips screws that holds the door switch in, because to remove this door, you have to remove the door switch. You can actually put your hand inside the drum if you want and hold the door switch on the back side to remove the screws like this. Then put these separate. They're special just for this door switch, and then you'll just press the door switch in. Now that's completed, we're going to remove the 3 or 4 Phillips screws on top. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to press down on these 2 metal clips. They actually press up into the door, as you can see, and this holds the door into place without falling on top of you. So you got to press down, and then you'll pull the door, wiggle it side to side and press forward. As you can see here, I have to press down a little bit more on this one. Just be careful not to slip and cut your hand. Now we'll lean the door forward, and you have 3 clips at the bottom. You do have a hose here. Sometimes you don't have them and sometimes you do, but this one we have is a circulation pump. It's the other pump that circulates the water throughout the tub. Real simple to remove. It just has little clips that you clip off. And now we can lift up on the door from the bottom clips and just put it somewhere safe. I recommend put it on like a carpet or something where it don't slide on the floor. So now this is the drain pump, so let's get this light here. So here's the OEM drain pump. This is the original. They run anywhere from $175 to $220 I see online. I will leave a link in the description below if you're interested in getting one. But you can tell if it's original by this little barcode here, and obviously by the price. They do sell these off brands that you can find on Amazon or eBay, but they're not the original, so I recommend to put the original if you're going to do this much work. You don't want to do it here within a couple months. So remove these 2 Phillips screws here, and then you can just press back on the drain pump. It has a little clip at the bottom here. I'll show you in a moment what I mean. But now we're going to pop this top cover off, which we will not install in the new one. These are the 2 harnesses that goes into the drain pump. Let me give you a better light. One's blue, one's purple. As you can see, I'm going to take a picture. I just don't want to mess this up. You got to put them on the exact way you take them off, so you can't switch the wire to the other side. So in other words, you got to make sure you put them on the exact same way on the new pump. You can take a flathead as you just saw and just pry it off, and then you can just move it out of the way. So sorry about the lighting, but I'm going to try to give you a better view. There's a little clip, it clips in, there's a little rubber gasket. You slide backwards, and then you can lift up on the pump itself. Before I get started, I'm going to make sure I get the rest of the water out. So I'm going to use my shop vac here and open up the water filter. This is what you do actually when you clean it out to do a maintenance. Not take the whole machine apart, obviously, but you'll take this filter out. As you'll see, this one's clogged, so what I would do is drain the water out from the little black tube, and then I would remove the filter. This is what killed the pump, and this is what will obviously cause nasty smells too, so something just for reference. I'm going to move the pump towards its side because I have 3 Phillips screws that I have to remove. I recommend using a hand tool, not a drill, especially when you tighten them, because you can't strip it in the new pump will not go into the housing. So recommend hand tool Phillips head. So you have one here, it's counterclockwise, that you have to remove. And you also have to put them in the exact same place the original holes for the new pump, as you'll see here in a moment in the video. So here's the first one. And this is why it's very important to get the water out before you remove this, because you can imagine water would go everywhere. And then this is the second one, counterclockwise. And just be careful, sometimes those edges at the bottom is sharp, so just be careful. And then you have one at the bottom. Once you remove this last one, you can just pull the pump right off. So as you can see, the pump just came right off like it's supposed to. And if you look at the propeller on this thing, you can tell it has no tension. It's supposed to have tension. See, it's just very loose. So this is why it's just making that noise, because it's not pumping the water out. So it's definitely good to have every 6 months clean your filter out. So as you can see, this one, it has resistance. So here's another critical thing you got to do. You got to make sure you take a paper towel to clean the inner rim where the new gasket from the new pump will go. If you have any type of debris in there, then it won't seal correctly and then could cause a flood. So make sure you wipe that down well. And this is fairly simple, but you just want to make sure you put it on the exact same way. The 3 holes here, you line them up, and then you have little grooves. Let me see if I can show you a good view where it slides into place, and you have to press it in to make sure it's completely flush all the way around. And once you press in, then you'll hold it with your hand. Make sure you have your 3 Phillips screws ready before you do this, because you don't want to let go of the pump, and then you can get it started. And like I stated a minute ago, make sure you put them in the exact same way you took it out. I mean, the same holes where the screws go. As you'll see here, even myself, I mess up at the end and have to take it out and put it back where it goes. So definitely take your time and have a good light. Also, I recommend just getting it started. So just go clockwise until it's snugged, and then you'll do the other 2. And once you get them all snugged, then you can go back and just make sure that you're just put a little bit more pressure on it, but not to over tight it and strip it. That's why I recommend not to drill a hand tool. That one's holding in place, and I snugged that one down pretty well. So now I'm going to do the bottom one and get it started. And once I get this one in, I pretty much can let go of the pump and finish the other one if I need to take a break. So right here is where I messed up. I put it into one below the top, and it was just because I couldn't really see that well, especially recording. So I will fast forward this. As you'll see, I'll remove it and put it back to the top one. So the far left goes all the way to the top, and on the right is one down from the top, and you have the one at the very bottom. So now I put it on the correct one, which is the far upper top, and then tighten it down. So after tightening everything down, I like to look very well all the way around to make sure it's nice and flush with the pump housing. Don't want no more surprises, so make sure you have no gaps or nothing in between. If you want to, you can put water in the tub and see if it leaks out the pump itself. Just make sure everything's, the filter housing's on and the tube is on. So this is the little clip where the rubber housing or the rubber support for the pump goes in to slide in to move into place to install the 2 Phillips screws. So you have to press down and then pull forward. I'll go ahead and put this in because I have water coming out already, a little bit left over. So, okay. So let me see. So you'll press it down and push forward, and then you'll line the 2 Phillips screws. So let's see if this can give you a better angle. So, wow. Sorry, it's kind of dark, but I guess you get the point. If you look in there, you can see what I'm talking about. So you have to press it down and then slide it forward. Now, having that into place, I'm going to reinstall the 2 Phillips screws. You'll know if you have it aligned correctly if these line right up with the hole. You might have to move it a little bit to adjust it, but you know what I mean. We need to reconnect the harnesses. So I'm going to remove this top cover. I'm just going to clip it off, or you can actually, from the inside, they have 2 little clips. But I'm going to make sure I look at my picture first before I install these harness to the drain pump, because you cannot switch them up. Usually you can tell by just looking, but it's good just to look at your picture just to make sure. It's a common mistake. So just make sure you hit the prong and press in, and you'll put this underneath the prongs, and then you'll press down on the cover. It doesn't go above the cover, it goes underneath. And now we'll reconnect our circulation pump to this clip here. Just twist it, and now the front door will go back on. So you have the 3 clips at the bottom, so you'll lift up, you'll slide the drainage tube between the hole at the bottom of the door, and then you'll lift up and put it on the 3 clips. You might have to wiggle it left to right a little bit. Before you put the door back, obviously you have to put this tube back into place. You have 2 little white strips that's where it connects, and also you want to kind of put the door switch into place before you press the door back too. When you put this door switch into place, you can gently press it back, and then we have to click this back in. Just be careful not to cut yourself, and then you'll gently press back. You can open the door too. What I'm doing here, I'm pressing in between with my hand to adjust the door switch. That way I can press this door switch in as I press back. Or if you have your Phillips ready, you can hand tighten one just to hold the door switch into place before you press back. Whichever is easier for you. Just have the door switch in place. I can let go of that, and then I'm going to gently pull the gasket out. Definitely do this before you press the door back. It's actually easier than it holds the door into place. So now, since we have the gasket forward, we can press back, and it should clip in there. Have a couple screws ready, and then you can put those up top. As you can see, I can let go of the door because those upper clips are holding it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on while I'm at it. So it just goes in between the groove of the front door housing. And just be careful because it is sharp. I cut myself here and there off this, so just to kind of give you a fair warning. Go ahead and install the 2 Phillips screws to get the door switch secured the rest of the way. Just don't over tighten it when you tighten this. As you can see, I'm going fairly slow with my drill. I'm not just pressing full speed. If you're not comfortable with the drill, just use a hand tool. So now I'm going to install the 4 Phillips screws on the top here. This will hold the front door on correctly, or secured, I would say. Let's install the display panel. So it has clips at the bottom where it slides in, as you can see there. And then once we get that in, we're going to reconnect the harness that goes from the main board to the display. And then you'll just gently press it back. It should clip in. The dispenser though, you got to make sure you have it back, because it will not, it'll just give you trouble to line it up. So make sure you press that back, and then just take your time. It should line up fairly easy, and then you'll just press down and it'll clip into place. Having that installed, this dispenser housing, you'll have to line it up with the front of the display and then slide it forward. This is why we have to remove it before we remove and install the front panel. Make sure these 3 Phillips screws align. If they align, you're ready to install. Now let me show you how to install this spring that holds the front gasket to the door. So as you can see, the spring should be at the bottom. When I removed it, it wasn't there, but this is where it should be. I used to have a small pair of needle nose that would go in between the hole here. These don't, there's too thick, so I gotta buy another pair. But you will do that, then you'll take your flat head to the top and press into the housing of the front door housing. There we go. And you'll hold it with your finger. Let me see if I can show you. My pointing finger will go towards the spring itself, and my right middle finger will go into the spring as I press it together. Just rewind it if you have to. It'll make more sense. One thing you want to do before you test it, make sure this is on correctly and the filter housing, or the cover is screwed all the way in, and then you'll put the front cover on. It kind of goes in at a side angle, and then side angle, and then press in. Just press. Then the dispenser, you'll just slide in, you'll press a little button down there, and then slide in the rest of the way. And then you got to put your 2 Phillips screws on the right, 1 on the left. This helps support the machine, and it keeps everything intact. And now we're ready to test. So as you can see, this drain line is way too long. Do not stuff it all the way down. That's a lot of common problems with destroying the pump. So I would just go a foot down and zip tie it off. So let's plug it in and give it a test run. This is a diagnostic mode. I'll go over it more slow this time. So hit delay in to 17. And then you'll press the start button, but just hold it. And it should show any error code. SC, then you'll hit the delay in, and that's how you go through all the cycles. So it has no water in it. That's number 2. We'll hit start. I will leave a video at the end of this one. It'll just be a video about diagnosis only, but it will show you how to go through all the tests and what they mean. So I'm going to add cold water in the machine, and this way I can test to make sure I have no leaks. So let me fill this thing up. So the next test is 7, and which is the drain pump. So as you can see, it's working well now. Make sure you zip tie your drain hose off to the hose beside it. You don't want that to pop out. and then just go through the next test. The water's out, so the next test is a spin test, and this is just a part of the diagnostic mode. So check out the video if you want a more thorough diagnosis. If this is not your problem, the SE code, that video would be for you. And then you can just keep on hitting the delay in button. Next is 9, and then we have 10, and you can just hit the power button to turn off at any time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it saved you some money. If you could help me out, hit that like button. That would be a tip for me. And if you would like to check out more future tips and videos, or need that to go to channel, just hit that subscribe button. And thanks for watching.